Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today's class is the dural venous sinuses or the venous sinuses of the dura mater. We are doing the head and neck classes. The head and neck classes we have started with the cranial cavity, after the scalp, face and the parotid gland. In the cranial cavity we have seen already the dural folds or the dural processes. So this is the continuation of the dura mater dural venous sinuses. Those who have not subscribed to the channel, subscribe now so that you will receive the continuation of the classes. Now we will start the dural venous sinuses. Situation: all the dural venous sinuses they are present between the endosteal and the meningeal layers of the dura mater. You can write situation or the formation also, except the inferior sagittal and the straight sinuses, which lodge only within the enfolding of the meningeal layer. So these two sinuses are the exceptions, which are only within the meningeal layer: inferior sagittal and straight sinuses. What are the characteristics of the dural venous sinuses? How do they differ from the other veins? That is the following characteristics we will see. So they are lined with endothelium as like the vascular system, but they are devoid of muscular coat and they are valveless. They collect the blood from the brain, meninges, diplo, and from the internal ear and the orbit. Absorb the CSF. So this is the important point you should take note of. Through the arachnoid granulation tissue, they receive the valvulus emissary veins to maintain the equilibrium of the venous pressure within and outside the skull. So these four characteristics are the characteristics of the dural venous sinuses. So these are the arachnoid granulation tissue. You can see these projections, they are the arachnoid granulations. So these are the arachnoid granulations which absorb the CSF so that they drain into the dural venous sinuses, especially the superior sagittal sinus is receiving the CSF. You all should know how the CSF is circulating, how it is formed. So it is formed in the ventricles, then by the choroid plexus, then they escape through the foramens. So many foramen in the fourth ventricle. They escape into the subarachnoid space also. They run in the ventricles and central canal. They escape into the subarachnoid space in the cisterns. Then lastly they are absorbed into the superior sagittal sinus through the arachnoid gland. So this is the superior sagittal sinus and they are absorbed into the superior sagittal sinus. So they are formed, they are produced by the choroid plexus and they are absorbed into the venous sinuses. So this is the enlarged view of the arachnoid granulations, how they are receiving the CSF from the superior sagittal sinus. So this form CSF circulation was once asked in the anatomy question also. So that's why I wanted to cover the arachnoid granulations also. So classification of the superior sagittal sinus. Classification of the dural venous sinuses. We should classify. The question may be, what are dural venous sinuses? Classify dural venous sinuses. So what are dural venous sinuses? We have told formation and the characteristics. Classify the dural venous sinuses. They are the unpaired and the paired sinuses. Unpaired are the superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, straight, occipital, anterior intercavernous, posterior intercavernous, and basilar venous plexus. Paired venous sinuses are the transverse, sigmoid, cavernous, superior petrosal, inferior petrosal, petrosquamous, sphenoparietal, and middle meningeal. So here some sinuses are shown in this picture. Superior sagittal sinus. So that how they form in the beginning. So when the beginning, so this is the narrow beginning of the superior sagittal sinus. So it is present in the upper margin of the falx cerebri. So this is the superior sagittal sinus. So we will see the superior sagittal sinus. It lies within the convex attached margin of the falx cerebri. The sinus begins at the crista galli, a few millimeters behind the foramen cecum. So when it passes backward, it gradually increases in size because it receives the tributaries. So it is lodging in the sagittal sulcus on the vault of the skull. Termination: on reaching the internal occipital protuberance, the sinus deviates to the right and it is continuous with the right transverse sinus. Tributaries, so you should, how to remember this is, it is situated in the upper margin of falx cerebri. So it will receive the cerebral veins from the superolateral surface of the cerebrum. So these are the superior cerebral veins, about 8 to 12 in number. Communications, they communicate with the parietal emissary, through the parietal emissary vein, they communicate with the veins of the scalp. Sometimes veins from the nose through the patent foramen cecum. And it communicates also with the cavernous sinus through the superior anastomotic vein. That vein will be called as vein of Trolad, and superficial middle cerebral vein. So it is communicating with the cerebral vein also. It is communicating with scalp vein, vein from the nose, with the cavernous sinus, and with the superficial middle cerebral vein. So one more important point is this confluence of sinuses, otherwise called torcular hierophily. It is the dilated posterior end of the superior sagittal sinus. It lodges in the depression, usually on the right side of the internal occipital protuberance. Sometimes it is asked as very short notes. So what is the applied anatomy of the superior sagittal sinus? Thrombosis of the superior sagittal sinus may take place due to the spread of infection from the nose, scalp. So all these communication from the scalp, nose, so that they will be manifested by the signs of the increased intracranial tension resulting from, so the defective absorption of CSF. CSF will not be absorbed if this sinus is thrombosed. So that will be the manifestation. So we have completed the superior sagittal sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus. It occupies the lower free margin of falx cerebri, posterior 2/3 only. So it will collect blood from the, it is present in the lower margin of falx cerebri. So it collects blood from falx cerebri and also from the medial surface of the cerebrum. So this is the inferior sagittal sinus. So it will collect blood from this falx cerebri, and this is the medial surface of the cerebrum. So they will be collecting from the medial surface of cerebrum and from the falx cerebri also. Termination, it terminates at the junction of falx cerebri and tentorium cerebelli. It will be continuing as the straight sinus. So, and this is the confluence of sinus, which is usually situated on the right side of the internal occipital protuberance. Straight sinus, it is at the junction of falx cerebri and the tentorium cerebelli. So that is the starting of the straight sinus. Course. So straight sinus is the continuation of inferior sagittal sinus. So it will be passing backward and to the left, and it will be continuous as left transverse sinus. So now we have to remember, superior sagittal sinus will continue as right transverse sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus will continue as straight sinus. Then it will become the left transverse sinus. Tributaries of the straight sinus. So it is situated exactly over the cerebellum. So it will be receiving few superior cerebellar veins. Inferior sagittal sinus, that is the continuation, it is the continuation of inferior sagittal sinus. Now also great cerebral vein of Galen. Galen is the father of anatomy. So this great cerebral vein will be at the junction, at the commencement of the straight sinus. So it will be receiving the great cerebral vein also, and also superior cerebellar veins. So we have completed superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus and straight sinus. We will now see this continuation of this sagittal sinuses, which have become the transverse sinuses, situated along the posterior attached margin of the tentorium cerebelli. It lodges in the sulcus extending from the internal occipital protuberance to the mastoid angle of the parietal bone. This sulcus is called the transverse sulcus. This is the attachment of the attached margin of tentorium cerebelli. So that is the situation of transverse sinuses. So this is the transverse sinus extending from the internal occipital protuberance to the mastoid angle of the parietal bone. So this is the transverse sinus. So marked as G. So can you now identify the sinuses from A to K? A, what is the sinus situated over the, yes, this is the free margin of the sphenoid. So what is the sinus? Now see the B. So A is the sphenoparietal sinus, B is the intercavernous, anterior and posterior intercavernous sinuses, C is the sigmoid sinus, D is the occipital, E is confluence of sinuses, F is basilar sinuses situated here, G is transverse sinus, H is superior petrosal, I is inferior petrosal, and J is the cavernous sinus. K is the beginning of the superior sagittal sinus. So these are the situations of when you are given the cranial cavity in the exam and you are asked to show the dural venous sinuses, situation of the dural venous sinuses in the cranial cavity. This is the way how you have to mark the dural venous sinuses. So the transverse sinus, right sinus begins as the continuation of the superior sagittal sinus, and the left sinus begins as the continuation of the straight sinus. So what will they terminate? So sagittal sinuses have become transverse sinuses. Transverse sinuses will become sigmoid sinus. So at the mastoid angle of the parietal bone, each sinus will continue as the sigmoid sinus. Superior petrosal sinus will be exactly joining at the junction of the transverse and the sigmoid sinus. Tributaries of the transverse sinus. Now only we told superior petrosal sinus joins at the junction of this. So that is the first tributary. So it is situated in the base of the cranial cavity, base of the skull or the cranial cavity. So it will be receiving inferior cerebral veins, inferior cerebellar veins, posterior temporal diploic vein, inferior anastomotic vein connecting the transverse sinus with the superficial middle cerebral vein. So that is the inferior anastomotic vein. So what are sigmoid sinuses? Sigmoid is shaped, begins as the continuation of transverse sinus so that it receives from the mastoid angle of the parietal bone. It lodges in the S-shaped groove on the mastoid part of the temporal bone and jugular process of the occipital bone. So that is the situation. So present in two bones. So it is present in the mastoid part of temporal bone and jugular process of the occipital bone. So this is the sigmoid sinus situation, as we told, present in the two bones, mastoid and the occipital. Again, all the sinuses are marked in this diagram, starting from this sphenoparietal, cavernous, superior petrosal sinus, transverse sinuses, and this is the sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid sinuses leaves the skull through the posterior compartment of the jugular foramen as the superior bulb of the internal jugular vein. So that the transverse and sigmoid sinuses together will be called as the lateral sinus. So now all the venous sinuses you have to remember in one flow chart. If you remember, transverse sagittal sinuses become transverse sinuses become sigmoid sinuses, and the sigmoid sinuses become the internal jugular vein. So they leave the skull as the internal jugular vein. Through which compartment of the jugular foramen? Posterior compartment of the jugular foramen. Tributaries of the sigmoid sinuses, mastoid emissary vein, condylar emissary vein. So it is near the inner ear. So it receives labyrinthine veins, also the cerebellar veins. Applied anatomy. Thrombosis of the sigmoid sinuses may take place from the infected middle ear and from the mastoid antrum. So if it extends to the superior sagittal sinus along this transverse sinus, this may result in the impaired drainage of CSF, so that condition will be called as hydrocephalus. So this completes the dural venous sinuses classification, and the mainly we have seen how the dural venous sinuses have become the internal jugular vein. So the question may be the what are dural venous sinuses, classify dural venous sinuses, and write about, you can be asked about any dural venous sinuses. So in this class I have covered the superior sagittal sinus, inferior sagittal sinus, transverse sinuses, sigmoid sinuses, so that how the sigmoid sinuses leave the skull as the internal jugular vein. So the remaining, the cavernous venous sinus, we will see in the next class. Those who are not subscribed to the channel, subscribe now so that you will receive the gross anatomy lectures, histology, embryology, anatomy practical exam preparation series, and also the radiology, anatomy quiz. So those who have not subscribed, subscribe now so that you will receive the everyday notifications.